what we said. We promise. Anytime there's any news with the Rams, we're gonna have a show locked and loaded for you guys here at House of Horns. The listeners and viewers of House of Horns. Victor, how you doing here? Because it's been an interesting couple of days here at Radio Row in Phoenix at the Convention Center. We've seen some athletes, some celebrities. It's your experience here for the first time. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been really fun being here for the last couple of days, just trying to figure everything out. Last night we were at media night. It was awesome to be able to go and interview some of the players. We got some great quotes from Miles Sanders, Fletcher Cox, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, so many players. They were really nice. And my favorite one, I think, by far was the AJ Brown when I asked him about his experience between going from the Titans to the Eagles, and he said it was interesting what he had to say in terms of he's kind of learning the Philly way for him. So for me, it was a really fun night just to get to experience that for the first time. I know we've talked about there were some kind of weird questions in there, but overall it was a great experience for myself, Gilbert.
Yeah, for those weird and dumb questions at Super Bowl Media Night, check out Compass on the B. Subscribe to the channel. We had a full episode coming out. I want to say what I'm losing track. I want to say Tuesday evening. So you're watching this, check it out for sure. But we're here at House of Horns, and Victor, I was just thinking, maybe it's been 4 or 5 years for the Eagles to make it back to the Super Bowl, but that's not a long stretch. The Rams had something similar from 2018 to last year. They went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Wasn't the best game, as you know. Humbling experience for Sean McVay, but then comes back a few years later. So a little similar there with the Eagles, but the Eagles won it a few years ago. I'm just trying to find something to talk about Rams because I'm sure Rams fans are listening like, man, Gilbert and Victor out there in Phoenix covering the Super Bowl. What could have been for the Rams? And it didn't work out for them. But last year they were there, and like we always mention on the show, take the Lombardi Trophy and call it a day because the tab was due and it was a rough season, but they got a new OC to maybe turn it around. But before we get to the takeaways, Victor, I want to just share some news because I am not the Rams beat reporter, I guess, from the Daily anymore. If you saw my Twitter, you're probably wondering what the heck. I was following House of Horns for constant Rams news, and then I said a tweet from Gilbert Manzano that no longer with the OC Register, LA Daily News. Yes, that is correct. I can't share yet where I'm going. I'm not trying to be LeBron James here, but Victor, but I just want to say, listeners and viewers of House of Horns, I love it here. I love covering the team. So what I'm going to do, I can't do the writing as much anymore. There will be Rams stories. I'll just say that. But we're going to keep House of Horns, the podcast. I'm going to give you great insight. So will Victor. We're going to keep a close eye on the LA Rams. So don't go anywhere. We're still going to try to get as much locker room access. But definitely the news and notes analysis is going to keep going because to grow nearly 500 subscribers in 4 to 5 months in one season, that's pretty impressive. I feel like I think it's a win. It's hard to get that many subs on YouTube because it's hard for people to find you. So many podcasts and radio shows. We're here at Radio Row, and you could tell it's so many shows to choose from. So to get 500 subs, that's big for me. So we're gonna keep it going. Don't worry, but more news to come. But the big news is we're gonna keep House of Horns going, keep it growing. Victor, I know you're in agreement. What do you think about that?
Yeah, when you told me the news about you leaving, I was like, oh, what does that mean for House of Horns? But as you reassured me, House of Horns isn't going anywhere. As you talked about with me, we're going to continue to grow this podcast because there's a lot of content out there for Rams news. And you're not going quite away. So you'll still be here in LA somehow, some way when you announce it. And so I'll leave it at that in terms of that. But we're very excited. We have a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of news outside of this. So we're kind of trying to give you guys at least something, that way we're not away too long. And as we'll get into with the Mike LaFleur presser, there's a lot to talk about there. So we're glad that you're staying some way somehow, but in terms of House of Horns, we're excited, right, Gilbert, about what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's a little slow right now, but like we mentioned, if there's any kind of news, good newsworthy stuff, we're gonna have a show. So before we get to Mike LaFleur, the combine is coming up. I'm gonna be at the combine for a couple days. So what the Rams are thinking, maybe we could talk to Les Nee, Sean McVay, but actually they missed a combine. But still, look out for prospects, offensive linemen, anybody, maybe some wide receivers, definitely some edge rushers. We'll get to the draft stuff. We'll definitely get to free agency. Me and Victor have you covered. But for right now, we'll do Mike LaFleur takeaways. It won't be a long show because we got a lot to do here at Super Bowl Radio Row. We're grinding. It's like what 8 p.m. local time on Tuesday.
It's about to be 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
so we sound a little kind of like tired. That's
yeah.
why. But we're here, so let's get to it. We'll do a few takeaways. Victor, do you want to start it? What do you think about Mike LaFleur?
I'll go ahead and start. I just from listening and reading some of the stuff that happened today with his press conference, I think one of the big takeaways, as we talked about, was Sean McVay is still going to be calling plays. It doesn't sound like anything is changing on that front. I think it just feels like it was a hire. He wants someone that he knows as his voice. And I think Mike fits that bill. And I just wanted to know how you feel about that. Did you ever think that Sean McVay was going to give up play calling?
Oh no, no, not at all. And maybe people who thought that it's a little funny because he had so much success in one bad year. So, uh, yes, there's some things wrong with the offense, but you don't have to start from scratch. You might have to start from scratch with your salary cap and your draft cap and all that. But your head coach, he still has it. I don't think he forgot how to scheme up plays, but it was one bad year. And I think what I go off of the takeaways is like this partnership. How's it gonna work? Obviously they're familiar with each other because Sean McVay and the brother Matt LaFleur, the coach of
Right.
the Packers, they're very close. They're pretty much best friends, I think. And Mike LaFleur said that today in his intro press conference, like he knew Sean from those Washington days, and that Matt was saying, "Hey, we got this new quality control coach, and he's young and he's your age, little brother Mike." And but this guy's gonna do something, and I think that's how they had a relationship. And then, obviously, Mike was saying they weren't speaking as much when he was in the NFC with NFC West with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. But Sean McVay is very familiar with that Shanahan system. And that's kind of where LaFleur is coming from. And maybe he could fix the running it. But I think for me, it's more being familiar with without actually being, I guess, coworkers because of the Matt connection there, LaFleur, that is. We'll get into the scheme talk. But I think just having that, that friendship with Matt led to Mike. And it's maybe funny that Matt LaFleur was the OC for Sean McVay in 2017 with the Rams. Now he has a little brother Mike in 2023, and it's a big job, Victor, because Sean McVay is not known for having boring, stagnant offenses, clunky, whatever. What do you want to call it? Because there were some bad games in 2022 when this team was supposed to be a high scoring team. So it's a big job for Mike LaFleur. But the bad thing for him, maybe we could segue to this way, is he's coming off kind of a rocky stint with the
Right.
New York Jets. He
Yeah.
and his job is to. I know OC's get a lot of credit or blame for the play calling, maybe not as much for the development, maybe it's more for the QB coach, position coaches. But he has a say in developing Zach Wilson, and that did not occur. And this offense was pretty shaky, so he's coming off of that. So I think the biggest thing is that okay, the results weren't there in New York, but I know you, I know who you are, and Matt's my close friend, so I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, and honestly, it kind of works out here because we saw what happened the last 2 years with the Jets. Their offense wasn't that good, but we know that in order for a Mike Shanahan offense to work, you have a good running game, and we saw that once he had when he had Brees Hall, the rookie running back.
Good point.
Things were the offense was working really well. It wasn't until he got hurt that things kind of started going downhill. And of course, Zach Wilson didn't play well. You had Mike White in there. You had Joe Flacco. And I'm not making excuses for him. But the one thing we know about the Niners offense is that it's predicated on their running backs, and at least while he had Brees Hall, it did work out, and so that'll be something I'm sure. I can't wait to hear what Cam Akers feels about how some of these things are going to change for him, because I know that some of the questions have been, well, are they going to upgrade the running back position? And as we talked about, will they, Gilbert? Will they? Do you think they'll upgrade, or do you think they'll stay with Cam Akers?
When you have salary cap issues and Cam Akers was your best player for a month, we got into the whole, being sent home for a month, and it was rocky. We did not expect for Cam Akers to have that type of finish. We thought he might get traded. released, whatever it may be. I guess waived for him. But he played well, and I think Sean McVay was pretty much, I want to say, sincere or genuine when we asked him about the whole relationship and how it was a repaired, was it broken, whatever it was. I think it was repair. I think he earned his spot on the roster for 2023. So when you have a productive running back like that, if he could keep it going, he showed you could keep it going. He got back his rhythm from the Achilles injury, and then you have a cheap contract like that on a rookie contract. You're big on rookie contract,
Yes.
Vic. So uh, that's key. And he did it kind of on a band-aid offensive line. It wasn't the best offensive line. So for him to break tackles, make something out of nothing, I think that was big. But one point that you brought up, Victor, from the New York Jets days with Brees Hall, maybe it's unfair to go off of this, but the one thing about the Shanahan running system, it doesn't matter who's his running back. And when Brees Hall went down, they couldn't find a running game. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a little kind of iffy there, but also you got to have some play from the quarterback, right? It's a balanced attack at the end of the day. So if you're not getting that from the quarterback, it's not really a running back proof offense. I felt like so maybe maybe there's some positive, some blame here, but the main thing that Mike LaFleur was saying in the press conference for the intro was that was a young team. The New York Jets were a young team. He knew what he was getting himself into, and maybe that might make him a better coach to go through that youth instead of kind of seeing those 49er teams with Kyle Shanahan. And by the way, Michael First been with Kyle Shanahan for I think I want to say 7 years total. 49er stint, Brown stint, Falcon stint. So he's seen all kinds of different rosters and experience and age. So but I think going off of that New York youth maybe might make him a better coach in the long run. Maybe I'm reaching here. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I like the way you put it because if you go back and you look and you look at his presser, he talked about how how beneficial those 2 years were for him. He doesn't take it for granted that he was able to spend those 2 years with New York because that is going to end up helping him. And now he has Matt Stafford. He has somebody, a veteran, instead of someone he's trying to groom, who he's trying to develop in like a Zach Wilson or a Mike White. He knows what to expect. I don't know if he'll have any say in terms of what happens with Matt Stafford as a QB coach, but his influence will be there, and I'm sure there's going to be some chemistry there with Matt Stafford. So it I that's another person that I'm actually interested to see how he feels about this hire. Um, but like we said, it all comes down to Sean McVay because he's the one that's going to call the play. So we're just trying to give some information in terms of what Mike LaFleur brings, even though he's not going to be the one calling the plays.
Yeah, but you still have a big say in designing plays, scheme, maybe changing a different approach here and there. But by the way, Victor, if people who are listening to the background noise here of House of Horns, I'm not sure if they can because maybe you have some good microphones. But if you do, that was Travis and Jason Kelsey just finishing their podcast, New Heights. I mean, I shouldn't give them free promo, but that's pretty cool to see the brothers do their own podcast uh, before playing in the big game. But speaking of brothers, the Compas have their own show here. We'll focus here. And going off your point, Victor, with Matthew Stafford, like imagine if you're Mike LaFleur, you're trying to, scheme up plays, design whatever you want to do with this offense with Sean McVay. I just thought about something else for another point, but how do you prepare when you're not even sure if Stafford's going to be ready? What kind of arm strength does he have? He got the spine cord contusion, concussion, the elbow. He has a lot to prove now. Like, are you still going to be that same guy from the Super Bowl 2 years ago? So I wonder how that goes. We could talk about Baker Mayfield. I don't know if you want to. But the biggest thing, too, is like uh, Matt and Sean clashed a lot. They were like in a brother way, and that's why it works. Sometimes you argue because you got to push each other. Okay, let's try it this way. And you get frustrated sometimes, and that's the way it is. And because Sean McVay is a competitor,
Yes.
so say the offense is not working again. Matthew Stafford is having some injuries. What happens then? Because we don't know what happened with Liam Cohen and what happened with Sean McVay, but you got to make somehow that clash eventually fit and soon and get results. So I think maybe that was part of what Sean knows that him and Matt were like that, but they made it work. And I think maybe Mike knows what he's getting himself into with Sean McVay.
Yeah, because he's been around Mike Shanahan. So, I
That too,
mean,
yeah.
yeah. And so the other thing, too, to keep in mind is that some of the most successful teams in the NFL right now are the ones that have different voices. You're able to collaborate with the head coach. You have your QB coach, and some of the coaches that you have aren't just positional coaches. There's people that you bring in who are consultants, and the more voices you have, especially for someone like Sean McVay, it helps. Especially you're able to collaborate, have a say. Hey, let me know what you think, and then you go to your other coach, and that way it becomes a group effort, and you're able to put together a really good game plan. And I think that's what I think we're going to see with Sean McVay this offseason. I think he's going to bring in coaches who he can trust. Not that he didn't trust some of the other ones, but I think he was just done with this coaching staff, and so he's ready to move on and bring in a new voices to be able to experiment and take this team to the next level. I'm sure they're kind of, yeah, they won a Super Bowl, but you have to evolve. And I think with him, I think he, what did Leslie call it? This is phase three.
Yeah.
I think this is it's the phase for McVay where he gets to evolve now and see where how he evolves his offense, and so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, that was a big topic in the intro presser earlier today. That it's like, yeah, we all talk about the Shanahan system and the running game and working with him, and going from Cleveland, Atlanta, San Francisco, him going to New York, and it's like we always talk about the past about these coordinators, but I'm like, what can you do to be ahead of the curve? What can you do new? What can you do trendy? Because also too, like, you got to figure out how to blend that Shanahan system, I guess you want to call it, and then the McVay system as well. But you can't keep doing the same thing. You can't also force things. So you got to find things that work for each other. So it's nice to have that experience and different kind of blends, but also you got to, like, okay, what does this 2023 Rams roster, what did they like to do? So that was a big topic. Okay, how do you evolve? How do you get ahead of the curve? And then, but the biggest thing for these guys, before you said trends, you got to fix the offense. It was terrible. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, when you coming off a very disappointing 2023 offensive season, you're probably thinking like, okay, I'm up for anything. I'm up for hearing new voices, new ideas, and maybe that could be the thing, Victor, because we kept talking about the quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson, the tight ends coach Thomas Brown. Like, why weren't these guys promoted and elevated? Maybe it was time, like, we need somebody from the outside to get this thing going.
Yeah, and you have to eventually say, you know what, I we can't keep doing this because it's not working. It didn't work last year. We tried running it back, and we lost a bunch of coaches, and it doesn't fit. This doesn't fit for me. And so for Sean McVay to be able to recognize that and say, you know what, this is what I need. And then that's one of the good things about the Rams organization. It starts with Stan Kroenke, and it goes down with their CFO and their general manager. Everybody is in cahoots. Like, everybody knows what their role is, and so they're gonna spend the money. They're gonna whatever Sean McVay needs, they're gonna get it for him. And so, if you're a Rams fan, you should be excited about this offseason because it's gonna be an interesting one, and it's gonna be one where you don't know how where their building blocks are going to come from. We know they're going to use the draft. We know they're going to use the free agency. Who gets cut, to create cap space? That's another thing. Who gets restructure, And then one other thing that I'll bring up: as long as you have Sam Kroenke's money, you're able to make up for things as you go forward. So that's another thing, Gilbert.
Yeah, Victor, mentioning the whole part about fans being excited. We had a poll on the House of Horns community section, and I asked, okay, how do you feel about the Mike LaFleur hire? Was it you love it, hate it, or ask me in September? And ask me in September won pretty handily there. So I think people are kind of having mixed results, and that's expected because the Rams had a bad season, the Jets really fell off, and the Zach Wilson thing there just probably lingers. And but having that Shanahan background, LaFleur, Matt LaFleur being Mike LaFleur's brother, so. There's some positives, but I feel like a lot of people are still kind of, let's wait and see what happens because after last year, you never know. And you can't think about this Rams team anymore like here are the Chiefs and the Eagles. They're new, as Leslie mentioned, phase three. I don't like to call it the Marvel
Yeah,
phase, but
yeah.
yeah, it's a different era now.
Yeah. No, I was trying to count down because Charger fans, you still have about 4 days left. As you can say, the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. So you have 4 more days before a new champion is crowned. So that's something to look forward to for the next couple of days.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, the Rams, because I've been on a couple radio shows and I'm like, oh no, not more defending champions. Actually, yeah, they could be defending champions until what is it, February 12th? Yeah, here in
Yeah.
Arizona. But Victor, we're here, late night at Radio Row. We got the takeaways episode for Mike LaFleur introduction, the new OC for the Rams. I know people are a little, on the fence about Mike LaFleur, but so far a good start. And but they're always like that, the intro press conferences. So, uh, yeah, we did it. What do you think, Victor?
Yeah, no, and just want to give a shout out to all the Ram fans who they continue to subscribe. They continue to get on our community board, and the more we just love the feedback, man. It's been awesome, and so we can't wait. Like I said, Gilbert isn't going anywhere. He might be changing jobs, going somewhere. But as far as House of Horns, he's going to be here, and we're glad to be able to provide more and more content. He's going to the combine, so I just want to say, this show is created for Ram fans, and so we can't wait to keep the content coming. And I'm glad I was able to figure this out to be able to
Yeah.
record this because we've had some issues. So
Yeah.
I'm just glad we can get this out to Ram fans.
Yeah, it's been a learning experience. And speaking about feeling like, oh, like, we got 500 subs and all that. And by the way, be a compa, tele compa, sub. But to be here with our podcast, through the Compas, I was in the Compass. I mean, who am I? Compas on the Beat Network. We got obviously Compas on the Beat, House of Horns, What's Up Boats, Combat Compas, what. And you're wearing the nice hoodie there. We got merchandise. I got the shirt right here.
There you go.
Zoom in there, Logitech. And then the background here. And so it's pretty cool. And we're right here, right next to Fox Sports. I see iHeartRadio,
Series XM, you got
PFF.
FanDuel.
So, we just started this podcast and we're building this network too. So to be here is a big deal. And we're going to get this merchandise going soon. So you can help us out. You help out the Compas on the Beat Network. You're helping out House of Horn. So we really appreciate that when that merchandise comes out. But if you like it, leave a comment under this video on YouTube, and I'll try to get you guys on the wait list. So it's coming. People like the hoodies. Victor, you're rocking it pretty well. I get some shirts out too. So the merchandise goes a long way for all the shows.
Yeah, and like I said, we're just really thankful to everybody. But hey, man, it's getting late here in Radio Row on a Tuesday, so why don't you know how to end this show? So
Let's go.
I'll leave the floor to you.
I'll try to wake up. We gave you some good analysis. Now I'm gonna give you some energy to get out of here. House of Horns, let's get out of here because there's a Super Bowl to be played, and we need to get some dinner here in Phoenix. Ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.